Welcome to New Life Live, the premier place to receive free advice from Christian psychologists and counselors for the mental, emotional, relational, and spiritual challenges you face. Since 1988, we've offered compassionate responses that combine God's truth with proven psychological principles to guide you toward healing. Our phone lines are open. Call us now at 1-800-229-3000.
Welcome to New Life Live. I'm Brian Perez. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for listening on the radio or on a podcast or maybe on YouTube. We are here to answer the questions you have about whatever it is you're struggling with. Maybe you're feeling a little off and you're not sure why. Maybe you need a confidence boost after suffering something humiliating. We don't know what's going on with you, but you do. So give us a call. We would love to chat with you. And here to do that today, we've got licensed marriage and family therapist Chris Williams and clinical psychologist Dr. Jill Hubbard. How you guys doing today?
Doing well today. Good to be with you guys.
Awesome. And Jill, what's on your mind?
Well, a few things that I've been thinking about are guilt, greed, grace, gratitude, and good things.
All the G words.
Yes, because I love to do that in my titles. But today we also have guests in our studio, and one of them is all the way from Georgia. So Thank you for helping me, Joanne and Jody. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Both spelled with a G.
Yes.
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, no. Yeah, I like the J thing too.
Yes.
Jill.
So I was talking to someone recently, and they were saying that they feel guilty for having a good life.
Really?
Which, yes. Okay. And I know that's kind of interesting that they feel guilty for having a good life, and that they want more. So, but there's this, so they want more, and they don't want it to end, right? So in all of that, in that saying, I feel guilty for having a good life and I want more. There is the fear, first of all, of greed. I've had it good, and why do I deserve to have more? And the fear of what's next, right? And this is a person who is older in life, and there are some medical challenges. So there are a lot of things that are fearful, people can be fearful about, especially if you don't have the understanding that we have a really big, great God who is there for us. And if you have a good life and you haven't had some of the struggles maybe that most of us have, you might not be prepared because you don't see your need for God.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting because so often people call in and they say things. And Chris, our job is to kind of peel back some of the layers, right? To look underneath that. There's also this idea of, gosh, if I have it good and other people don't, they're going to envy me.
Yeah.
Right? And so now I have to feel bad that I have good things. And so I don't want other people to feel bad. So then when they compliment me, I have to say, oh, you mean this old thing? You like my dress? This old thing? I got it on sale, right? We can't just say, oh, thank you. I like it very much. I'm glad you do too.
Yes.
And so, we're kind of monitoring ourselves based on other people because of these deep-seated feelings that we have. And often with guilt, there's a lot of misconstrued guilt. A lot of guilt isn't really guilt. Right? Sure, we all have guilt when we've done something wrong. We need to feel guilty when we've done something wrong so we can do a course correction. But sometimes our guilt is more about our shame.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
Yeah. And even that thinking, okay, my life is all good, sometimes it's a defense against looking at maybe other struggles that have been there. That, oh, I don't want to look too closely at that because I like living in this world of all good.
Yeah, because I'm thinking of something you mentioned. Two things that help with this is girth.
Oh, I love it. Okay, girth.
Is we build up resiliency for life and gratitude.
Yes. Well, okay.
Right?
Yes.
One
I didn't
word you
quite
mentioned.
get to the gratitude,
yeah,
but that is a remedy for so much.
But when we come back, let's talk a little bit more about girth and gratitude.
Okay, girth and gratitude. I like it.
Girth and gratitude. I will need to add that to my list of topics we discuss here on New Life Live. And Ed, we're going to talk to you and everyone else as well. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We are New Life Live. Find out more about us at newlife.com.
We've been married 33 years. We attended the Intimacy and Marriage Workshop. Even though we've read books, or attended a few other marriage weekends, this was certainly different and a lot more intensive than initially that we thought.
When you come to intimacy in marriage, you're going to be immersed into a 3-day process.
Was not really sure exactly what to expect, but the idea of learning to really understand intimacy was intriguing. We had been in the same patterns of struggle over and over again.
If you've thought, I don't think we can ever change, we're just in this rut and we can't get out, the Intimacy in Marriage Workshop can help you get out of the rut.
The Intimacy in Marriage Weekend is July 25th to the 27th in Washington, D.C. Register online at newlife.com or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and use the discount code NLL to save $50. 1-800-639-5433.
I would highly recommend it.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Let's finish up our conversation here that we started at the beginning of the program with Dr. Jill Hubbard, talking about all the G's and girth and gratitude is, I think, where we left off.
I love that Chris added in the girth. But yeah, gratitude is really a remedy for so much. If we can shift our thinking from the guilt that really isn't warranted, and the worry about greed, and actually being grateful, for the good that we do have, and
Absolutely.
that your being grateful doesn't mean it takes away from somebody else having good.
My trip to Alaska taught me something very, very important about God. His goodness and grace is abundantly wasteful. I mean, he has so much. I'm like, looking at the beauty of some of the wilderness places that we got to and realizing that most people on planet Earth will never see this.
Right.
It was just like God's beauty, God's goodness is so big, he's willing for it to even be wasteful, meaning that like there's more than what we will ever experience in a lifetime. And so understanding our disposition towards God's abundance rather than man's or life's scarcity, I think takes a lot of faith. But part of that, too, where I was thinking about girth, is that a lot of our fears of like when things are going great or good in our life is this other shoe dropping syndrome.
Yes.
Right?
Which is why people are often afraid of it.
Yeah,
right?
we're fear, so we can't enjoy good things. But girth allows us, meaning perseverance, resiliency, God's movement of strengthening us in the hard times says to us that, as I tell my boys all the time, William's boys do hard things. You can do hard things. You can enjoy good things, and you can do hard things. Because whether we have much or whether we have little, God is with us, that we say with Paul, and that I can do all things through him who strengthens me. And I love that verse in Philippians because it's not talking about when things go well. He's saying that like whether I have much or whether I know what it is to have abundance, and I know what it is to be in deep scarcity. He says, I know the secret of contentment because I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, meaning I can do hard things. And that's him who can do more. Well,
and it's his internal work, not the external circumstances that he's commenting on. Right?
Absolutely. It's the same thing where we say that, where we see in Ephesians, where he can do abundantly more than all we ask or imagine. If we look at that prayer in Ephesians 3:14 through 21, there is nothing that is referenced to our external world. Everything in that prayer is about what God is doing inside of us to transform us from the inside out.
To build up girth.
Absolutely. Yep.
Very good. All right, let's go to the phones now. Connie's calling in, but first we're going to talk to Ed, who is in Villages, Florida, listening on Sirius XM Channel 131. Hello, Ed. Welcome to New Life Live.
Yes, good afternoon, and I appreciate you taking my call. God bless you.
Thanks. You too, sir.
Well, I've been dealing with anxiety and depression really for about 3 years now. I'd had an earlier bout in life and really seemed to have gone away, and life was going well, but I hit some real bumps. I'd gone, I had a tough childhood. Dad was very abusive, beating mom, and, I had dealt with that till I was 17 and confronted him and then ran to the Marine Corps and ended up in Vietnam. I'd come home and I married a young lady I was dating, and quite honestly, we weren't really ready for it. Didn't have good good leadership, weren't involved with the church at all, and sadly that led to a divorce. I had remarried some years later, and tragically, I'll always remember the date, July 28th. I got a call 1:30 in the morning. My youngest son from my first marriage was murdered.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
I handled it well. I was surprised. I had an executive position, and I thought I was a strong Christian, and I'd gone to church, and that carried me, and we did get through it. I'd kept my family up, and everybody was commenting how well I was doing. And then some years later, I ended up with my first bout of depression. And, I had a lot of I would call pressure at work. Our board changed, CEO, and things of that nature. But thank God I'd gotten through it. I saw just a couple of. I went to a Christian counselor for a short time. My church had a men's group that I was involved with, and I was seeing a primary doctor who had given me some antidepressants, and life bounced back.
Good.
Well,
so what happened 3 years ago that led to your current bout?
Well, everyone's telling me it was kind of accumulation of all these things. What had happened was, after that I had remarried again, a wonderful wife, and we'd had some challenges. The biggest was me being a stepdad, and to be honest, he was a kid who was kind of spoiled, but I was overboard in terms of discipline. And I look at that now and I say, well, it was probably because the way I was raised. My son was murdered, and this kid had a good life, and I was wrong, and I was really abusive to him.
Okay.
Sadly, as life went on, my wife then, 52 years old, very healthy, a good Christian lady who I loved dearly, she was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and 2.5 years later, she had died. And I'd seemed to handle that well. I sold a big home, and moved to a smaller home, and was dealing with things. Kind of backed off of work for a while, and life seemed very, very good, and I was going on, and about a year later, and I don't know why. I mean, this is something that I struggle with, why I get married so much. But I had remarried, and a wonderful lady who I fell in love with, and we moved from Buffalo, New York, to the Villages. And
so this is the fourth wife you're talking about now?
Is this third or fourth wife?
That would be my third wife.
Okay.
Third, okay.
Yeah, I was divorced. I married. Wife number 2 died. Now this is wife number 3.
Okay.
Okay.
And things were good, but sadly, if you can believe it, she had a small accident, fell out of a car. We rushed her to the hospital, and when we got there after 23 hours in the emergency room, found out that she had stage 4 lung cancer.
Wow.
And she was really doing, struggling, wanting to get better, and we ran from doctor to doctor. Then the pandemic hit, and I was driving her all around the Villages, and we've gone long distance to Sarasota, and she was looking anywhere and everywhere with these trials to get better, and sadly she had died in April.
Wow.
This last April. Wow.
So, Chris, do you want to jump in? Do you have any questions for Ed?
I don't have any questions, really. I have numbers. The loss of a childhood through an abusive father, the loss of innocence through war in Vietnam, the loss of a marriage through divorce, the loss of a son through a tragic killing, the loss of being widowed 2 times. I mean, I don't know how anyone goes through these, and part of this is that Ed, you'd mentioned that things can be cumulative. Grief definitively is cumulative.
It snowballs.
And I call it, this is not the best metaphor, but work with me just for a second. Grief is a mob boss.
Okay.
If you owe it, you can avoid paying up for a certain amount of time, but eventually you're going to have to pay up. And so on the front end, grief can feel like that mob boss where he's going to come to collect the impact of those losses in our life. Because we look at Genesis 1, I mean, we were not designed for death. We were not designed for loss. We were designed for abundance and eternity, and that's why our faith in eternal life with God is so critically important and essential. But here on earth, those losses add up and are incredibly significant. So for me, this grief that sits as the underbelly of the story of Ed's life makes sense.
Does.
That anxiety and depression would kick in and would be sticky and stubborn and wouldn't let go of its grip because it's saying, I need you to work through these losses in your life.
And perhaps, Ed, each time you did work through it a little bit, maybe
Yes,
to the best
yeah,
of your ability
absolutely.
at that time, but you were also younger and you had to keep moving forward. There were people counting on you. And so you kept moving forward, and you really amazingly kept bouncing back.
Yes, absolutely.
But I think as life slows down, especially, and like Chris is saying, the cumulative effect with each new loss, we grieve all of the previous losses. And so it can get pretty weighty. And if you have a little time and space, then we start to feel those things.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? That isn't a bad thing. You know, there is a purpose for depression and anxiety. I know it doesn't feel good, but it can, tell us something. It can say, it's time to slow down and maybe look at some of these things. And it's okay to be sad about them.
Well, and as tragic as these things are, one of the gifts of grief is that it really shows us with crystal clarity what is most important in life. It recenters us to what is most essential. And we can build upon that, and I'm wondering if there's possibility for amendment and reconciliation with your stepson, that you're carrying that inside of you. But most importantly, I love that you're in the Villages, because I'm assuming that is a tight-knit community, hence the name Villages, that you can really deepen community and relationships. And I would love for you to get into a grief group.
Yeah. Ed, does this all make sense to you? What do you think?
Well, it does make sense. I've been seeing, I've gone to secular counselors for a while, and, it's been a little bit difficult. I don't understand what we're doing. I am dealing with a lay person or several people through our church and meet weekly, and, we're kind of doing all right. I mean, to be very honest, my relationship with God has become somewhat rocky. I'm saying, Lord, where are you in all this?
Yes,
And I'm dealing with some, physical pains. I've got this trigeminal neuralgia, which I've had for years, and have been managed with meds, but they keep upping the meds, and it feels like an earache, a toothache, and a headache all at once. The trigeminal nerve in your head.
Yeah.
And I had gone through 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, I had prostate cancer.
Oh my goodness!
That dealt with, and now I'm dealing with this arthritis where my toes are curling, and I've got to put cloth in between it. So I just crawl out of bed every day to say, Lord, please help me. And I'm trying to stay interested and busy. I've gained 25 pounds, and it's hard to walk or do anything, and it's been difficult. And I've got a hard time hooking up with people, and I've always been very social, and I don't know now where it's drudgery to do it. I mean, it's hard to shower and shave and get out and get together with people, and the Villages is active. But sadly, I'm among a lot of people who aren't believers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and that's where your church community is going to fulfill that need. But when you start not feeling well and the body's breaking down, it makes it really difficult. I mean, people do get depressed when they're in physical pain. So, Ed, again, it sounds like through all of your life circumstances, you've been able to maybe, have the energy to keep motivated and to maybe keep more positive. But when depression comes in to visit, it's difficult. So I'm hearing what you're saying. I think that the grieving piece is important for you. And also there's a little bit of having to deal with life on life's terms. Life just throws us these things. And the older we get, there is a breakdown of the body. And so as discouraging as it can be, it's like, okay, in these new circumstances with new limitations, what can I do?
Yeah.
Right? And yes, there is a questioning of God, but then who else do we turn to?
Yeah.
Right? If not God.
We're coming up to our break, but something Ed said that when he was going through all these different things, people would tell him, wow, you're taking it so well. So what can we do when we notice somebody who's going through a tough time or whatever, and they seem to be taking it well, quote unquote? Is there something that, how can we come alongside them knowing that there might come a time when they won't be taking it as well?
Well, I think it's also just asking the question, how are you really doing?
Yeah.
What's really going on?
Yeah.
You know, and again, hey, I'm fine, I'm okay. But really, this is playing the long game, you know, because grief can show up in its own way in different times.
Yeah.
But it's making sure that I you know, if I'm a good friend of yours, I will walk this out with you for the long haul.
Yeah.
And sometimes when we're taking it so well, our body is taking the hits.
Yes.
And that's
Wow.
also the cumulative effect.
All right, Ed, stay on hold. We're going to send you a resource. Connie, we want to talk to you as well. And everyone else, this is New Life Live. I'm Brian Perez here with Dr. Jill Hubbard and Chris Williams. What do you want to talk about today? We're here for you at New Life Live.
Early on, looking at pornography that went into affairs, massage parlors, strip clubs with buddies. Before you know it, you're ashamed of that.
Every day, men struggle with sexual integrity. Impure thoughts, strip clubs, affairs, pornography.
My wife got a phone call, and she asked me who this person was, and man, how do I get myself out of this one?
For over 20 years, New Life Ministries has been helping men regain their integrity and purity through their one-of-a-kind Every Man's Battle Intensive.
When she said to me, I want you to look at this website named Every Man's Battle, she had me look, and I said, no, this is exactly where I need to be. This is exactly the problems I have, and I'm gonna go.
You don't have to struggle any longer. Get help in Denver, Colorado, June 6th through the 8th. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE to register or to find out more. 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com. Use the discount code NLL to save $50.
I was sort of vaguely familiar that the 12 steps had some origination in the Bible. I found Life Recovery, and one of the things I liked so much was that it had such a broad appeal. It wasn't limited to just alcohol or drugs, that it was addressing a wide range of problems.
At New Life, we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country. They take place online, in conference calls, and in person. And if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. We have startup materials, leaders' guides, CDs, Bibles, and more, all with discounts available for groups. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and ask for Terry Ward. The 12 Steps have long been a great help to people in recovery because much of the 12 Steps' power comes from the fact that they capture principles clearly revealed in the Bible.
The 12 steps is really a pattern for all of us as Christians.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
All right, Ed in Villages, Florida, thank you for calling in today. What resource did we decide to send Ed from the newlife.com store?
The Grief Recovery Workbook.
That's a good one. Okay, Ed, thanks for calling in. We're going to send you a copy of that book. And let's go back to the phones now. Here is Connie, who is in Albuquerque, listening on the New Life app. Hi there, Connie. Thanks for downloading the app, and thanks for calling in today.
Hi, how are you?
Doing well, thanks. How can we help you?
I was wondering if you heard of a situation like this and what I could do about it. So far, I've been praying, but I have a daughter who had kids, and then she got involved in drugs and ended up in prison for 7 years. When she got out and the kids were older, they have attitude like, how dare you come out thinking you could be mom again? And what she's doing now is, because of the guilt of her not being able to be a good mom, she's taking control over her grandkids to the point where the grandkids' mom, her daughter, is saying, aren't you going to pick up the kids again? Aren't you going to do this again? And she's just letting her. And my daughter's also buying extravagant gifts for the kids because of guilt and getting into debt.
Buying extravagant gifts for the grandkids. For her grandkids. Yeah.
So she's having a do-over with the grandkids that she missed with her own kids. And her own kids are so angry with her for abandoning them and choosing drugs over them that they now are kind of being a little bit high in their expectations of her. Is that what you're saying? But she's got so much guilt going. She's allowing it, is what you said.
Yeah. She's being run by guilt.
Yes.
And so that's why she's spoiling them. She works. She's already 40, going to be 49. She works a job and afterwards picks up the kids and takes them places every single night that costs a lot of money. I told her to stop this, and she can't. She says, I feel guilty because they're home not doing nothing, and it's almost like she doesn't want them to live the life she led. I was on social services, a disability. I couldn't afford to buy the kids a lot of stuff. And I don't know if she's trying to make up for that.
I mean, Connie, it sounds like it. It sounds like she's doing a lot of compensating. But what I'm not hearing is that, through her time in prison, she learned a lot, and there was an amends that has been made to the kids, and that she allowed the kids to air their resentment towards her. And that she did some work to really look into, why she turned to drugs, what was going on with her. So, and maybe you're unaware of that, but what you're observing sounds like you see the issues being acted out and played out. But I think that there is still a lot of resentment there that is between her and her kids. Hurt. I mean, kids, have been abandoned. And then grandkids don't know. And so, of course, someone's going to spoil them. Why not?
Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm in a lot of thought on this one because the situation's really complicated. And Connie, unfortunately, it's not rare or as rare. It's not, specifically unique to your situation. But with that said, as you're saying, you're noticing that guilt is making poor decisions. And it does. Guilt isn't the bedrock of health. In the midst of all of this, what oftentimes is happening, and maybe your daughter listens to us talk about this. Maybe you say, "Hey, I'm inviting you," but that can be tricky because she's probably resistant to being "quote unquote" fixed by mom, which makes sense. But there's this understanding of guilt that says, I have to do something for you so that I can feel better about me. At the end of the day, guilt is actually a pretty big self-obsession. And that's why Jesus is trying to relieve us of that through his work on the cross, through his redemption, through his forgiveness. Because ultimately what I think God's work in our life is, I know what God's work in our life is to make us more like Christ. Christ doesn't do anything out of compulsive guilt. He does it out of compulsive goodness and health and vitality. And so part of this is that I do believe, as Jill was alluding to and speaking to, is that your daughter has more work to do on what she is holding against herself.
Yes, and I'm wondering, Connie, here's a part that you could do. I wonder if you could have a conversation with your daughter, not to tell her all the things she should be doing or to analyze her, but more of a confession of your own parenting. Not a defense of it, like I didn't have money so I couldn't buy you things, but more of reflecting on how you were as a mom and asking her, what was it like for her to be your child? And allow her to maybe have that with you. Because every adult child has things about their parents that they could share.
Think you could do that, Connie?
Yeah, I became an alcoholic when I had my kids, and I got seizures, and they were taken away from me. And,
this is a repeat.
So,
yes. Let's get into family
Wow.
recovery. Family recovery here. Yes.
Yeah, Connie, we've got to take a break. We'll come back to you here on New Life Live. Thank you for calling in. And, it's your support of New Life Ministries that allows us to continue helping hurting people who are at life's toughest places, sometimes not just for themselves, but then they see it in their kids and their grandkids. Let's stop that cycle. Give to New Life, and we'll have more information on that when we come back.
I was stuck. I was so stuck. 27 years married. My husband addicted to pornography for the majority of our marriage. I was very isolated and didn't really know which way to turn.
If you've been affected by betrayal, an emotional or physical affair, or pornography, Restore Intensive will equip you with support and tools to help you through.
When two people want to do their part, we can be restored. But if they don't, we can still be restored. We are not stuck because someone else made a decision. That God lets us weigh in on how we want to walk out our lives. Our wellness does not hinge on another person's decision.
The Restore Intensive is coming to Washington, D.C. November 7th to the 9th. Register online at newlife.com or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and use the discount code NLL to save $50.
You guys helped me figure out what was going on.
1-800-NEW-LIFE and the discount code NLL. Club New Life changes lives.
I think I go way back to listening to New Life, learning so much from it, and then becoming a Club New Life member.
Club New Life is a monthly giving family that helps New Life Ministries provide Christ-centered hope and counseling resources to thousands of people.
You know, I'm so thankful because you know why I keep giving? Because I keep learning, and I'm so thankful for all the lives that you touch every day and the people's lives. So when I get to still hear the radio show, it's just so encouraging to my heart.
When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, you'll make a difference in the lives of individuals and families with godly counsel and connection to help.
And you know one reason I give? Because I feel like sometimes I'm hiding behind a counselor's couch listening to all this great information and not paying. So my guilt of this great advice is alleviated by being a Club New Life member.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. And together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
So as I was saying, your support allows wounds to be healed, broken lives and families to be restored, and souls battling addictions to find a pathway forward. Your gift goes twice as far due to a matching gift. You can give online at newlife.com. You can call 1-800-NEW-LIFE, or you can text the word MATCH to 28950. Thank you for whatever you can do, large or small. It goes a long way in the month of May. Do you see what I did there?
Yes, I do.
All right, so we were speaking with Connie. And right around the time the music started, she added something else to the mix. Connie, thank you for sharing that with us.
Hey, Connie, what have you done? Have you gotten into recovery? Have you been sober? What have you done to turn your life around?
I got saved.
Okay,
Yay,
awesome.
Connie.
Fantastic. Yes.
And I'm a new creation now. In fact, God uses me in ministry. But I forgave.
Mm-hmm.
And I it's been 25 years, about 40 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Since I've been delivered, but I had a traumatic childhood.
Yes. So this is the heartbreaking reality that so many families and so many people experience, and that is, there's a lot of words like epigenetic trauma, and all that means is that we just are passing down the pain of our patterns over and over and over again. And we can't, unfortunately, you know this, I wish your daughter knew it a little bit more deeply, that we can't buy our way out of that. And we can't fix ourselves through relieving another person.
Mm-hmm.
That it just requires our own work. But going back to Jill's point about what was it like to be
my child,
my child
right.
when I was struggling, and how hard that must have been. And ultimately, I think, Connie, it's the power of your example. In the midst of my regrets, in the midst of my horrific struggles with addiction and losing you, is that it's not that becomes the defining aspect or experience of my life. I'm doing things to get better. I'm doing things to find redemption, to join with what God is doing, to break these generational cycles so that we can learn something different. We can learn a different way to do life.
Yes.
Yeah.
At one time, my daughter was horribly angry at me, kept putting me down and everything, and I finally got to the point where I said, God, this is hurting me so bad, I got to give it to you, and I wouldn't even talk to her for a while. And then one time I said, God, open her eyes to see what she needs to see. I don't know what that is. And one time she was driving and a man stepped in front of her and she hit him. And she called the police and took care of it and everything, but he died.
My gosh.
And I don't know what happened with that, but since that day, she has never said a disrespectful word towards me.
Oh, wow.
Well, the other thing I want you guys to seek out together is family therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And family therapy that specializes in both trauma and addiction.
Connie, we want to send you a book from the newlife.com store, and we also want to put you in touch with a family therapist, so stay on the phone and we'll do that for you. What resource do you think we can send Connie from the store? There's so many good ones.
This is going to sound strange, but I really do believe in this one. It's Becoming an Adult with Henry Cloud.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Because I think there's some developmental things that are required for us to become adults that oftentimes in families of dysfunction are missed along the way.
All right. Becoming an Adult from the newlife.com store. Connie, thank you for calling in today here on New Life Live. Men, I want to talk to you for a little bit. If you are looking at porn, if you're visiting strip clubs, if you're having sex outside of marriage, if you're struggling with your sexual integrity, we want to tell you about the Every Man's Battle Intensive. It's where you'll begin to break free from these behaviors. It's led by men who have faced your struggles and now know what it's like to be living in freedom. For over 20 years, the intensive has been held regularly. It has helped thousands of men. You can join the men who are saying yes to a new way of living by registering for the June 6th workshop in Denver. You can visit newlife.com today for all the details. The early bird rate ends tomorrow, May 23rd. So again, get all the details at newlife.com. And there's a few ways that you can get your questions to us here on New Life. If you go to newlife.com/radio, you can learn how to send us a voicemail or how to send us an email. We're going to hear one of those voicemails right now.
Hello, my name is Tom. I live in Montana. I have been struggling with some people in my lives that don't have a very good understanding of boundaries. They want to rule my time, and they'll flag me down on the road, or they'll stop by and corner me, or they'll call me and want to talk for 2 hours, and then they talk over me when I try to tell them when I'm trying to leave or I need to be somewhere else, and they don't listen. Can you help me with some ideas on how to approach this without being a complete jerk?
Great question, Tom. What do you guys suggest?
Well, I'm wondering who flags you down. I guess in Southern California, people don't do that. But in Montana, in smaller towns, maybe your neighbors flag you down. And
Or it could be,
over.
See somebody in the public square, you're at the supermarket or something.
Well, I'm making a lot of assumptions, but to that point, Jill, if I haven't seen anyone in a week or two, then I'm flagging them down and being like, let's talk.
That's true.
Yeah,
because
if I'm living out in the,
Yeah. We're assuming a lot of things. He could be in Bozeman.
Yeah, he's like, I'm in Bozeman. I live downtown.
Yeah.
Well, there's something Tom. I mean, people like Tom. People like to talk to him. But where does he put those boundaries of, wanting his own time and?
Well, and it is difficult, and there are people who don't respect it. And a lot of times, I think you can get in a position of waiting for the other person to give you permission to leave. And some people just don't pick up on the social cues. And so I think sometimes you have to practice, kind of setting some parameters. Hey, it's great to see you. I have 10 minutes.
Yeah,
and then I'm going to have to go. And then the person, but one more, I know, I'd love to hear it another time, but I only have 10 minutes. And you start walking away, right? So you tell them up front what you're willing to give them. And then when they still don't respect it, then you actually leave. As you're saying, good to see you, and you have to practice doing that. And you're not a jerk for doing that. It's horrible when you feel held hostage. Now, I don't know if Tom enjoys talking to people. If Tom's a recluse and hates talking to people, that's a different issue. But just in normal, seeing people around town, it can really slow you down.
Yeah.
If you have to chat. I know, just even as a therapist, doing phone callbacks and things like that, I've resorted to, sometimes electronic messaging because I don't have the time to chit-chat in between clients and things like that. So you have to decide what you can do and what you're willing to give. And then you kindly and nicely present that, but you're firm. You're loving but firm. Right?
Yeah.
And then if the person still isn't getting it, you literally say goodbye and walk away.
Yeah.
Because some people will continue talking no matter what you do.
Well, I think that's really important, is that we are the controller of our time, of our schedules, and having those time boundaries are really important, I have another strategy.
Okay.
Make it really awkward.
Stop talking. Some people will fill the space.
Well, or ask inappropriate questions back, or ask a question that has nothing to do with what they're talking
Then
about.
they're going to go, there's Tom, that weirdo.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, there's Tom, the guy that, man, he just makes it awkward. It's too uncomfortable to talk to him, so I'm not flagging Tom down anymore. But to your point, Jill, again, beyond the joking, is that, Tom just has a sign on him that says friendly, safe person.
Yeah.
And that's great, and that's a gift. But oftentimes we ourselves over-identify with that. For me to be okay, I have to be friendly. For me to be okay, you can't be disappointed in me, or you can't think that I'm rude or off-putting or anything
Well, even
like
Tom
that.
said, how can I do it without coming off as a jerk?
Yeah,
Right. So you're a jerk if you take care of yourself.
Yeah, so actually, and probably a resource that would be great for him is how we love. Okay. And the reason I'm going that direction is because Tom is a pleaser. And the pleaser cannot handle and tolerate anyone else's displeasure towards them.
Yes.
And so boundary setting becomes very, very difficult. And so the work that Tom has ahead of him is for people to not think great of him and for him to just be okay with that. And for his identity to not be
to have to tolerate displeasure in other people.
It's not easy. And if you are at the supermarket, you can tell people, hey, I don't want my ice cream to freeze. I got to get going. Or to
melt.
Not to melt, I should say. You do want it to stay frozen.
Well,
what?
Are we out of time? Okay,
we're running out of time, but give us a cliffhanger.
Sometimes, like if you give people a little bit, then they are satisfied.
Yeah.
So can we talk about that when we come back from the break?
Can we, Chris?
Yes, we can.
We can.
We have a little bit of time to talk about that.
Okay.
We'll do that. Okay, Tom, thanks for sending in your question through the newlife.com voicemail system. You can find out about it at newlife.com/radio. We'll be back.
Do you need help for life's hard situations?
My husband recently said he wanted a divorce.
I'm confused on what I should do.
I have an eating disorder.
New Life Live answers your questions on relationships, grief, addiction, trauma, anxiety, and much more, all from a biblical perspective with our panel of professional counselors and psychologists.
I learn a lot from your program.
You help so many people.
I appreciate your ministry.
Whether you listen or watch, there are so many ways to connect with us to ask our panel of counselors a question. Call us Monday through Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific at 1-800-229-3000 to ask your question on New Life Live. Or go to newlife.com/radio for other ways to get your question answered.
I'm trying to find help.
I just want to know how to set boundaries.
If it's a sin, what am I supposed to do?
Need a therapist or a coach, a resource, or an intensive? Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. For over 35 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
Your ministry has saved my life.
If you struggle with emotional hurt, family or marriage problems, the pit of depression, or the pain of addiction, we can help.
I'm down 100 pounds now from what I was.
I found a counselor through New Life Ministries, and it's just been outstanding.
Our treatment programs provide clinically appropriate solutions from licensed professionals, all in a biblical framework.
I have had problems with alcohol. I think God has ordained this place to be His
his.
You don't have to be a prisoner of your pain. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
She tells me that I'm a new man, and I feel like a new man.
It worked for me, and it can work for them too.
This time it is different.
If you're ready to take the first steps toward genuine spiritual and emotional healing, call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. God can open the door for a better tomorrow.
To get someone that's competent, that's good at what they do, it's been like day and night compared to what I've had before.
Call 1-800-639-5433. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
You have all been waiting to hear what else Jill had to say.
Oh, gosh.
So
Well, I was just going to say, sometimes when we are anticipating, we see someone who's, oh no, they're a talker. I'm going to be held hostage. The whole time we're engaging with them, we're trying to plan our escape, and we're really like pulling away. So sometimes if you do the opposite, which seems counterintuitive, if you lean into the person, if you give them good eye contact and really like give them a genuine, wow, it's really good to see you, and wow, I really care about what's going on with you. Fortunately, I've got to go. And then break away. Sometimes they are satisfied because you actually have given them 30 seconds of attention instead of the feeling like, you're backpedaling and they've got to keep extracting from you.
And to add on to that, Jill, sometimes when we do have to end a conversation and it is or feels abrupt and we move on, our fear is we're writing a story that they think I'm a jerk. But I find that most people are just fine with it.
Right.
They're okay.
They'll keep talking till you leave, but they're okay with you breaking away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's our fear put on them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. This is New Life Live, and we've got a phone call
we're
here
alive.
from Atlanta, Georgia. Hi there. What's your question for us today?
Hi, yes. Chris had mentioned laziness, and I don't know, I just associate laziness with such a bad term, but I feel I'm more a procrastinator than a lazy person. And I'm just trying to understand, maybe I am more lazy, but it's just very hard for me to get going to start a project or do something, and I procrastinate and then try and do it like for 5 minutes, basically.
Okay.
The last to get it done.
So let me
and maybe do a sloppy job.
Well, because in fact, I want Jill to jump in on this because I think she has a lot to say on what goes on underneath the hood when we procrastinate. But I just want to start with this question. When you're facing a task, what is your fear telling you?
That I really don't want to do it.
Okay, stay there. Why do you not want to do it?
Well, some things I want to do, but if it's something that's kind of monotonous and boring, I just can't seem to get
there.
Started.
Okay, okay, Jill, you're on. You're on up to bat.
You do the things you like. It sounds like.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do.
But
but as far as like certain chores or certain things around the house, and I'm like, I've got to clean out this closet, and then I get overwhelmed when I go open.
Yeah, but who wants to clean out a closet?
I know,
mean, you would like
afterwards. It makes me feel good.
Yes. Okay. So you want the end result, but the actual doing it is not really fun. And there's a lot of tasks that we put a lot of shoulds on and shame attached to it, or conditions. I've got to clean out my closet before I can do such and such, right? I really should clean out my closet. Oh, I'm such a lazy person. Look at my closet. And we judge ourselves.
Then I feel bad.
Yeah, then you feel horrible about yourself. And so you're just perpetuating all of these bad feelings. And who doesn't want to avoid bad feelings? Now, the thing is, you're creating more bad feelings through the avoidance. But sometimes our brain kind of switches it around. It's like, I don't want to face that because then I'm going to have the bad feeling. So I'm going to do it, but I'm going to put it off as long as I possibly can because I just want to enjoy what I'm doing right now. So, and sometimes we always usually get stuck in that. And sometimes there are things that we need to reevaluate our expectations of ourselves. You know what? Really good people have messy closets. Yes, it would be nice if it was organized. It may make you feel better, but it is not the end of the world if you have a messy closet. And those are not the, the life and death circumstances that you need to flog yourself over.
Oh, I think I have one.
Okay.
You ready for this one?
Yeah.
Thank God for the last minute because it gets a lot of things done.
Well, yes.
Right?
You know what? You know when my closet gets clean is when I have to do something else I don't like.
Yes, so I'm a last minute person and that's okay.
Yes, when I have to pay my taxes.
Yes.
Boy, my closet has never looked cleaner. And so one of the tricks, Chris, that you're reminding me of, find something else that you hate even more than the task you're avoiding.
Yeah. Thank God for the last minute. Honestly, it's a mantra in my own life. I thank God for the last minute because it gets a lot of things done.
Interesting.
That's my motto from now on.
And half of the people procrastinate.
Yeah.
Half of the people deal with their anxiety by planning ahead and doing things ahead. But half of the people in the world deal with their anxiety by avoiding it and putting it off until they are in the crunch time.
Yeah.
And you know what? Both people get it done.
Now, when you say that you're procrastinating, you don't mean super important things like you've got a stack of bills piling up or anything like that. It's just those things like cleaning out the closet and...
That's a good point, Brian.
I mean, just things, definitely nothing that's, very critical.
You pay your bills.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I do that. Okay. It's more of, I guess, it's comparing to other people, and they're so organized and have everything.
I know
in order, and
good for them.
I'm convinced half of them hire it out because how could you be that perfect, right?
Well, but again, I think it goes back to something that you said, Jill. This is really important because what we do in comparison is three fallacies. The first fallacy is this. I'm comparing how I feel on the inside to how you look on the outside.
Yep.
A lot of people that get a lot of things done. My brother is one of those things. I know he does it from a place of anxiety. It's a cousin to his OCD. Look at his garage. I get things done at the last minute. That's a product of my anxiety. Both are anxiety, right? So the other thing that we're doing comparison with is we're comparing circumstances. Like in this particular area, you get things done. Maybe there's areas in which you don't. That I don't know. That's another huge fallacy. There's just too much information we don't know. The last fallacy of comparison is this. Is usually when we're comparing, we're finding an excuse to give ourself a false sense of inferiority and somebody else a false sense of superiority, or it could go the other way around. Either way, it's relationally disengaging rather than engaging. So acceptance of this is my MO, this is how I operate. I don't have to like it all the time, but if I start with acceptance. Now here is the real trick of acceptance. Once we've accepted it as a radical is, then we can begin to start making adjustments and changes to it.
We're running out of time. Quick question. Is procrastination a sign that perhaps we've got too much stuff going on in our lives and maybe we need to let go of some of that other stuff?
Well, that could be. And maybe we need to let go, though, more of our perfectionism and our expectations for ourselves.
Absolutely.
I think that's an important thing in the mix.
Very good. Thanks for calling us today. We are out of time. That music will begin any second now, unless we're procrastinating playing it. No, there it is. All right. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Remember that we have a podcast. If you ever miss us on the radio, you can get it wherever you get your podcasts. And we will be back with you tomorrow on the Friday edition of New Life Live. For Chris Williams and Dr. Jill Hubbard, I'm Brian Perez. Thank you for joining us today. God bless you.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.